Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everyone? It's Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan. A little bit of a different Inside the Birds than we normally do on Monday because, obviously the Birds played on Thursday. So we have our film review podcast that'll be out now that you're listening to. And then, of course, on Wednesday when we normally do our tape review, what we'll do is kind of look, Adam and I know this is the time of the year where things are going to happen with the Eagles. And I'm sure there'll be some things that we'll be able to discuss on Wednesday as far as what's going to happen in the next 24, 48 hours as they get ready to hit the road and prepare for the Las Vegas Raiders. Already one transaction that we'll get into in this podcast, and that's the Zach Ertz trade. And, maybe there will be more. We'll talk about that.
Right. We'll also just add, we'll add some potential trades at the trade deadline because the trade deadline now is exactly 2 weeks from tomorrow. So we'll have some names we think that could attract interest.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because Howie Roseman, the Eagles GM, like he was asked in that press conference, what was it, on Thursday, Friday,
mm-hmm.
About buyers and sellers at the trade deadline, because now when you're 2-4, being where we knew this was going to be a non-playoff year, why wouldn't you be sellers? But he didn't want to give in. I understand, but the reality is we know they're not going to playoffs. Come on.
No, probably not, and barring some kind of miraculous turnaround. And it's been a tough week. I don't like it when it gets like this, personally.
Okay.
I when I say gets like this, I mean when it goes from just criticism and questioning to like the mob and the pitchforks come out, and then we're firing everybody, and then we're making up ridiculous reasons for why guys are terrible at what they do, or then we're even going on the other side and you got to give these guys, it's not their fault. No, it's, if they're doing something wrong, whether it's Gannon, whether it's Sirianni or Jalen Hurts, they're doing something wrong, right? They are getting a chance. Nobody's getting fired right now. So they are getting a chance. They've got to improve upon things, but all of them, anybody who is under scrutiny, they're also not like the biggest morons, idiots in the world. They're either, trying to get better at what they do, or they're doing something that's wrong for the right reason, or for what they think is the right reason. And
Sure.
Look, I get it. Everybody should be. This is a very passionate sports city. Nobody should not be. But there was some stuff where, you just hear it maybe it's the social media element of it. I just wish people weren't so angry. I wish people could be critical without being angry and rageful. There's got to be a line somewhere, but I'm only but one person. I would just recommend that if you're that person on Twitter or on Facebook or YouTube or sports radio and you are just so angry, relax. And by the way, Andy Reid's first 5 games were freaking terrible. Now, I'm not turning Nick Sirianni into Andy Reid. You only get that once. His first 5 games, his first year were terrible. Chip Kelly, we've talked about him and his defense. They were 2-3 and then 3-5 after 8 games. I get that this is a little different, and we'll get into it because it feels like, as the games go along, you're seeing the same things and you're wondering why you would do some of these very bizarre things like not run the ball. But we'll talk about it. I would say there's a method to the madness, even if the method is incorrect.
There is?
And yes, I think there's a method to the madness.
Do tell, man. This is going to be interesting.
Before we, let's be real. Like Nick Sirianni came from Indianapolis, who runs the ball probably more so than most teams do. He didn't come here and wake up and decide that the run game absolutely sucks. He's got a method to his madness. I think his method is wrong, but it's not like he just decided he was going to come here and throw the ball 95% of the time just because. He also didn't run RPOs very much in Indianapolis.
Sure.
So there's a method to this, and we'll get into it. But
okay.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, Adam, we talked about like the schedule. It's easier because you're not facing what you think are any Super Bowl contenders in the next 5 to 6 weeks. Maybe I don't think the Chargers are Super Bowl contenders. They're playoff contenders, but they're not.
They're pretty good.
Contenders.
Yeah.
Their defense has really sucked for the last 2 weeks, but
they
are pretty good. They are pretty good offensively. But by the same token, other than the Lions, I mean, you're facing some teams who can get hot pretty. I mean, the Las Vegas had a win this weekend, and you thought that they were kind of really in the dumps and imploding. They are not, And we'll see. They got a bunch of those kind of toss-up games we call them or whatever, and we'll see how they do.
Sure. They got to play the Giants twice, Washington twice. Giants are, I don't want to say they quit. They're terrible.
They
They
are
got all
terrible.
sorts of injuries. They're bad. Washington's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense was a little better this past Sunday, but they're bad. So yeah, there are plenty of games where the Eagles could go and not only compete, but could steal one here and there or win just because maybe the coaching will be better and both Sirianni might be able to figure out at some point what's going to win here to help the quarterback who's struggling. But we'll get into that.
Yes.
Look, we've had time obviously since Thursday to sort of digest the game, and we'll get into that. And obviously the Ertz trade. Which it's funny. It's been sort of in the making for 6 months. I don't know if they probably got a little bit more than they would have gotten right before the draft, but probably not much more.
I want to talk about that because I'm really confused by that whole sequence of events. Real quick though, I want to let people know that we are not on our normal 97.5, the Fanatic schedule this week. We're not going to be on tonight, Monday night from 6 to 8 because of a scheduling conflict. I think is it Sixers or Flyers that are on tonight? I forget who. I think it might be Flyers, but either way.
Yeah, I think it is Flyers, but we have them each month. But we'll either be on a Monday or Tuesday every week during the Eagles season, and hopefully we're on with them past the Eagles season. I know we had talked about it, but we never were able to get that done. But hopefully we'll be on most of the year because we enjoy our relationship with them and we love talking Eagles.
That's right. But we will be on Tuesday of this week. So we'll be on Tuesday
6 to 8
instead of Monday. So if you're looking for us, make sure you got us on the right day. Also, what else? The pregame show, even again, for those to know, our pregame show will be 10 a.m. till noon as normal, even though the game is at 4 o'clock. So if you're a loyal listener to the pregame show, or if you haven't checked it out yet, you really should because we're on a roll. We've been having some great pregame shows. Thanks again to Brian Baldwin, who filled in for Greg Costell in our last one and did an amazing, amazing job. And then Greg will be back with us, you and I and Jason Avant on Sunday from 10 a.m. till noon. So make sure you're checking it out then. And I think that's it for housekeeping right there. So let's get into the Zach Ertz trade. You hit it on the head. There were so many bizarre things that went on with this. You remember, I never thought he was going to even be on the 53. And when he was, I said, I'm wrong. You were right. You felt that
I was wrong. I was wrong. Jason Kelsey was wrong on his bet.
You were right though, because you started to see it during training camp and say,
I'm sorry. I was wrong originally. I said he wouldn't be on the team. I was wrong about that. But then just the intel I was getting, I was like, wow, I don't. And someone around the league said to me, he goes, man, Philly better understand. Once you get past the draft, they're going to have trouble trading Ertz. I said, why would you say that? He goes, there's no urgency in our business.
Right.
Once you get past the draft, because the leverage drops from the club that has the player to the receiving team. And that's really, quite frankly, why the Eagles did not get very good offers before this trade.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know why they didn't just take whatever the best offer was, prior to the draft. Because if you're looking at it now, they got a 5th-round pick and a cornerback. The cornerback's a 6th-round pick. He may not make the team next year. We'll see. Sure. If you had just held on to Zach Ertz, which I don't think is a good idea, by the way. This is why, again, I think they should have just traded him before, like he wanted. If you had held on to him, though, this year and just let him walk, at least if he signs somewhere else, it helps you in the comp pick formula. So the 5th you're getting from Arizona, almost similar to what you might have gotten in a comp pick if Zach Ertz signed somewhere, or at least canceled out one of your bigger free agent signings or mediocre free agent signings. So in the end, they didn't get that much value for Zach Ertz, which we thought you wouldn't get that much value for Zach Ertz. And so that's why, if you want to look back and kind of point the finger here on how this team started off and Dallas Goedert being missing in the offense, was it really worth it to have Zach Ertz on the team for the first 5 weeks and have Dallas splitting reps and getting buried and then wind up pawning off Zach Ertz for not very much?
And remember, we talked about that all offseason, right?
Yep.
That the coaches were going to be forced to play both tight ends and play a decent amount of 12 personnel. It's not as much as we would see in years past, but they're up there, and it wasn't ideal. You make a very fair point, but I think what happened is they wanted to maximize the value, and I think in hindsight, you're probably right. They should have taken, if they could have gotten a 5th, trade them months ago and just move on. We know that it's about building blocks. And Roseman talked about it anyway. He said one of the motivations was to turn it over to Goddard in his own way that he said it.
Sure.
I agree. It's now Dallas Goedert's time with Tyree Jackson, who Roseman said was coming back. That's good. He would have made the team anyway had he not gotten hurt. But the fact it's Dallas Goedert's time. He's got to get the ball. We'll get into the tape study. My goodness gracious, did they miss him in this game? Oh my goodness. Oh,
yeah. Assuming they would have actually thrown it to him if he played.
Yeah, that's true. Right. I knew that was coming. In fact, I thought about that as I was about to say this. I'm like, I know this is going to get refuted because people they won't throw it to him anyway. True, but they're going to have to now.
Can't miss
when he's cleared. What's that?
So you can't technically miss him if you don't throw it to him.
No, I know, and he's on the COVID list. Let's hope. Let's hope he can pass it to him because he tested positive. So Dallas is okay.
Yeah, because we have not had any change in his status at the time of us recording this pod, and I'm pretty sure he was vaccinated. So I don't know what's going on. So hopefully he's doing well though. Hopefully he's okay and feeling good. And there's really been no change with Sua Opeta, right? He is still
correct.
On the COVID list. So listen, first and foremost, I just hope these guys are all right.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So the trade to me, all right. It came in a strange time. They could have done it a lot sooner. And Zach looked great in his press conference, man. He really
he's awesome.
What it means to be a Philadelphia athlete.
How do you not love him?
I'm gonna miss that guy. Honestly, yeah.
He's a good dude. His mom, Lisa's awesome. His brothers. It's a great Philly story in that Zach's talked about this before. Was it the perfect play against Cincinnati years ago where
he didn't block
I'm sorry.
It was an interception and he didn't have a chance. He did not block Perfect, and Perfect hit the quarterback. Was it Wentz?
Right.
Yeah, it was Wentz, right? Yeah.
And he got a lot of grief. And I talked to Zach about this. He and I did a speaking engagement for Fuzio, and he did talk about it. It actually freed him. This man as he was, he stopped worrying about comments on social media and so forth. Just play football, and that kind of freed him. I was surprised for him to say that, but I understood it over time. Okay, I get it. You're just not worrying about what people think. Just go out and play. And look, not only will he be in Eagles Hall of Fame, some people suggest because his numbers are so dominant, if he plays a couple more years, maybe gets consideration for the Hall of Fame. Who knows? But terrific football player, great guy, and we wish him well. And on Sunday he was in Cleveland. It was so weird to see him wearing the Arizona Cardinals stuff,
especially that quickly, right? It was like no adjustment time. It was
weird.
Very
Weird.
Yeah, no, it's very strange. I tell you one thing though, and I'm not blaming Zach for this. I'm just saying, like, sometimes when something smells fishy, you got to point it out. And when he did his press conference the day after the 53 came out, after not talking all of training camp, and he said something like, I love it here. I want to be an Eagle forever. Everything's good now. My first reaction was, well, that seems weird. That sounds like you're saying you don't want to be traded and you want to stay. That's the way he made it sound. And now
he did say that.
I'm not sure he really truly felt that way. And even though he shed a tear upon leaving here because of the memories, he also said he's really excited about joining Arizona, as he should. They're a very good team.
It's a chance to get another ring.
Yeah, and you and I have known that's the result that he has wanted for a while. So to be moved. So that whole press conference the day after the 53 was strange to me, but I guess it really doesn't matter much now.
Well, I would say this. He was probably, because he was not traded, it's kind of like when you're expecting something that doesn't happen, you resign to the fact, all right, I might as well accept it. I'm here. Make the best of it. And that was my interpretation of what he was saying.
Yes.
And plus, the charity work that he and his family have done, building the latest thing with the center to get the kids off the street and place for them to with the internet, with be able to get food and be able to get their schoolwork done. It's just so awesome. What a great dude.
Yeah, it is. He is great. It was great. No, I agree with you. I thought maybe he was just trying to make the best of the situation.
Yeah, exactly.
But if that's the case, then you're going to tell Howie or the front office, like, if you're going to keep me here, and keep me here. Don't now trade me after the fact. If I'm here,
I don't know.
Just because he said I want to be an Eagle for life. I'm here, and then I don't know.
Who knows?
There was a lot of mixed messaging, and it was hard to figure out. Yeah. What do we know about Tay Gowan? I'll just give you the little bit that I've heard. Okay. Raw prospect, but obviously he's 6'2", and teams that play a lot of two shell defenses cover two, like the bigger physical corners. He can run well, but it constantly told me, got to coach him up. So it sounds like he's a guy who needs a lot of development.
Yeah, he is actually just under 6'1". You could run him off to 6'1". He's a height, weight, and speed guy. His pro day workout was under 4.5 for a guy as tall as he is. It's actually, I think it was like 4.49.
Yeah, that's tremendous.
Kind of raw, developmental, as you were talking about earlier, late round pick. They had a 6 on him, and that's he's a throw-in the trade. Let's see, the Eagles need developmental corners. They do. To go along with, by the way, it is actually Arizona's 5th round pick next year that they're getting. Look, right. That could be the 32nd pick in the 5th round. Who knows? They could win the Super Bowl. Right. Who knows? I mean,
I'm not going to be a very high pick in the 5th round.
I am blown away. I got to give them with their head coach, their play caller, and the quarterback coach being the same guy, and he was not available Sunday to absolutely hammer the Browns as they did. That was an incredible win. Right. And they're the NFL's only undefeated team. And now here's my question. We'll have to see what happens tonight with Buffalo, because I had Buffalo in our power poll at 1, Cardinals at 2. And I didn't get a lot of guff for that. I thought, because always when you do power rankings, you're an idiot how could you not have an undefeated team at number 1? And I usually say, hey, it's about the better team, not the record so much. But I understand the argument. Right now, it's hard for me not to have Arizona at number 1.
Yeah, I mean, they look really good. To go on the road in Cleveland and dominate them that way, that was very impressive. Without Zach Ertz, that was really impressive. So I understand every once in a while you got to knock your number 1 out because your number 2 just looks that much better, or vice versa, So yeah, you did the right thing on that. I thought. I mean, Buffalo looks like a great team. They look like a well-oiled machine right now. A very, very difficult team.
Their defense now that they have a pass rush is dominant. That would be an incredible Super Bowl to see Kyler Murray versus Josh Allen. Wow, that would be awesome. But
oh, and by the way, Dawson Knox is playing well for them.
Yes,
he's going to play tonight on prime time. But he's had some. Remember, because that was a team that had some interest in Zach Ertz, but they didn't pull any type of trigger. We had reported during the draft they were unlikely to do so. At the time, Adam, you had talked about Dawson Knox as somebody they would like to have seen. You could have understood why they wanted to get Ertz because they hadn't seen it yet. But nice last 3 weeks for him.
He had such bad luck. He was on the COVID list and all these minor injuries. He just couldn't get out of his own way the first 2 years. And then he's been a tremendous story for them. And he's a vertical tight end. They run him on longer routes. They're loaded. They're the NFL's most complete team. Arizona's a close second. It's quite the turnaround. But the team in Philly, they got issues.
Yeah, real quick, because there's one more thing on the trade market I want to talk about. Because I want to parse something that Howie Roseman said that I think might have been a little.
From the press conference, sure.
All right, first, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ITB to bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code ITB this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. So, Howie was asked during his video conference if the Ertz trade was a signal that more trades are coming and that it could be kind of a sellers at the deadline approach. And he said, no, I don't. He said, I don't anticipate. We will not be sellers is what he said. But I think people think now that they're not going to make trades because he said, we're not going to be sellers. But you have to understand Howie Roseman will always couch things a certain way. Just like he just traded Zach Ertz and told you it's not because he's a seller. It's because he wants Dallas Goedert to be the number 1 guy now. So when I listen to him say that, I still think the Eagles could potentially trade some players between now and the deadline, and they will not. And it could be a veteran. Maybe it could be a Fletcher Cox, right? And it will not be couched as we're sellers. It'll be couched as this was best for the team. We had either an aging player or we have a chance to put a new player into that spot, get an evaluation of him. And that's like 25% true, right? They do expect to win, even though they're going to try, and they do want to turn over the roster, right? So but it would be selling. It would absolutely be selling.
Of course. I mean, yes, if they did get rid of certain players, because think about it, right? They're 2-4 right now. Mm-hmm. If they're 2-6 at the deadline, why would you not trade? Right now, the way that Carson Wentz is really playing well, knock on wood for the Eagles' sake, that second round pick now becomes a first round pick. The Dolphins, I cannot believe how bad they are. I cannot believe it. I'm sure it's one of the biggest shocks of the NFL is how pathetically bad the Dolphins are. They've lost 5 in a row. They're 1-5.
Right.
That first round pick could be top 5. Now, it's early. It's early. But didn't expect that. So, they just got, they got a 5th for Ertz. They're starting to pile up draft picks, man. So, yeah, and why not? I mean, if you know, what is the point? This is not Major League Baseball where you're trying to get, that wild card. I understand you said this on our last show, and there's definitely truth to it. Mm-hmm. If you look at the NFC standings right now, as we speak Monday morning, I mean, Dallas is a lock to win the NFC East. I think we all know that. Green Bay, Tampa, Arizona are 4. Rams are 5. Now, after that, there are a couple spots open here. But
there are.
Like New Orleans, their defense is fantastic. They're 3-2. Minnesota is, but they're starting to turn their season around.
Yeah.
Now, if the
Carolina,
Eagles
get McCaffrey back and go on a run.
Yeah, well, they will. You're right. Right. They'll get McCaffrey back. They'll get Gilmore. But there are 2 spots open theoretically, right? Mm-hmm. But the Eagles, to me, why waste your time if you lose the next 2 games? It's fool's gold. Now, if they won the next 2 games and they're 4-4, okay. Want to be now? See, that's the tough part of this. It's like in 2017, I remember talking to someone in their front office in 2017 at the trade deadline. I said, "Listen, I know this is a surprise. No one expected this, but I mean, where are you at here with being a seller or buyer? Or not a seller, but buying is." And this person said, "Listen, we've talked it over. We're being honest with ourselves. We're going to go for it, and we didn't know it was going to be J.J., but that's who they traded for."
Right.
I do believe these next 2 games are going to tell you a lot because let me ask you this question. If they shock us by winning at the Raiders on Sunday at 4:05, and then who do they play right after that in week numero 8? Because now that game's at Detroit. I understand lines are somewhat competitive, though this past Sunday they weren't very competitive against the Bengals, but they got to beat somebody at some point. But let me ask you this question. If they win the 2 games, what would you do if you're the GM?
I wouldn't do anything differently. If I
trade for anyone?
If there were players that I got an offer for, I would make the deal.
So let me run this by you. Now the cap. I'm sorry?
If it's a satisfactory offer.
Okay. Let's say it's Fletcher Cox, right? Now he's got through all these restructures, and we have to figure out what the cap hit would be. But if it's feasible through the cap, and they're 4-4, you would still trade Cox if you got a lot of interest. I'm turning it to you. You're the Eagles GM for the day.
I would not for
still move,
a 5th round pick or anything like that.
No, but, hell no.
If I got a good offer for Fletcher Cox, I would make the move. Yeah,
sure. And plus, you would have the leverage.
Remember, you've got. Just remember this. It's not just about Fletch. You've got Hargrave, who's going to end year 2 of a 3-year deal. That was key and very smart by those free agents 2 years ago to sign just 3-year deals, knowing that I think there's a new TV contract about to kick up.
Exactly. Really good point. Yep.
Right. So if you want to keep Javon Hargrave, the best thing you can do is extend him after this year. And if you're going to extend him and give him more money, you're going to need to not have Fletcher Cox and his money on the book. Now, you're going to have to incur some dead money on a trade anyway, but it's still less money than having him on the team, I believe. So,
Plus, we'll look at that for Wednesday's show or Thursday's show. Excuse me, his contract. We'll look at some of the possible trades, but I hear you. If they could, would you do it for 2? Would you trade Cox for a 2nd round pick?
I would.
Okay.
I absolutely would. I actually would not hesitate.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because to me, the leverage is in your hands in that a team you would want to trade him to a team or a team that would be interested to be obviously a playoff bound team that's going for it. Mm-hmm. That to me is where you have a leverage because if you've got more than one bidder with these playoff bound teams that need interior defensive linemen, the Eagles are the hot spot to me because Cox is clearly not the same player. We all know that, not a secret. Still is a good player.
He's a good player. I'm not,
still good, but he's not great. He's not elite anymore. I don't think he's elite. I haven't talked to anyone who thinks he's elite.
No, not elite anymore.
But Hargrave might be elite. My goodness gracious, he's been special.
Yes, absolutely been great, and that's a big reason why I would feel comfortable making that move. I also wonder if there are some people who we thought were going to have roles on this team this year that just they're not, and so I wonder if there'll be like kind of a low level like trade that somebody wouldn't think. People think Miles Sanders is going to get. I don't think Miles Sanders is going to get traded. I don't think Howie wants to trade Sanders, and I don't think Nick Sirianni hates running the ball and only wants to play with Kenny Gainwell. I just that's my sense. I wasn't told that, but I just don't see Miles Sanders getting traded. But a guy like Boston Scott, who's touched the ball zero but has some versatility to him, a guy like Greg Ward, maybe a JJ Arcega-Whiteside, who's been a good blocker and is a second-round pick. I don't know. I'm just picking out some guys who have zero to minimal role, but may help somebody somewhere else, either on special teams. Sometimes you see low-level special teams or complementary role player type trades at the deadline. So only on offense. I can't. There's no corners that obviously they would trade. I don't think any linemen other than Barnett or Cox that they might consider trading. Certainly no linebackers. I can't imagine.
We'll get into that. We got to get into that. That's this linebacker play. We'll move on. We'll talk more about the trade.
I just wanted to go through that. What Howie said about the trading, and I don't want people to think that just because he said that means nobody else is getting traded.
I totally agree. Good point.
Awesome. All right. Hey, look, if you want to get an advantage over your sportsbook, you got to download BetQL, the only app you'll need to make smart bets. Their best bet computer model scans over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports, and it gives you the reason behind why you should place the bet. They've got a model that covers everything from spreads to over-unders and player prop bets. And if you don't like that model, if you're just a person who likes to do the research yourself, BetQL's got the necessary tools for your betting research needs too. Everything from sharp data, line movement, team summaries, lineup and injury breaking news, even a leaderboards to track your success. So go to the App Store or go to Google Play Store, download BetQL. You can also head to try.betql.co/ITB. Enter the discount code ITB at payment checkout for 25% off their subscription offerings. And check out their sportsbook offers page if you live in one of the eligible states to claim free offers upon signing up at one of the many sportsbooks listed. Don't miss out on a chance to beat your sportsbook this football season using BetQL. All right, why don't we do the offensive tape first? Start off with the Eagles' offense against the Tampa Bay defense.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with Sirianni in the scheme or Jalen Hurts or what? How would you like to begin this?
As much as Jalen Hurts is struggling the past two games, there's no sugarcoating it. He's really struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And people have listened to our show from 18 know this. Yeah, I'm not a running game enthusiast at all, particularly in the first half. But this is the thing that bothered me about Andy Reid in his formative years with the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
When it's not working with your quarterback, when your quarterback's struggling mightily to see the field well, to pull the trigger on throws he needs to pull the trigger with, help the guy out. It's not, it's one thing if Sanders happened to be traded or he wasn't able to play and they only had Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell. You want to keep throwing? Okay, I could understand that. Miles Sanders looks great. I mean, Greg Cosell, he cannot be more effusive in his praise about Sanders.
Yes.
Baldy and Avant were on this past show. That was a phenomenal show. And we talked. It was one of our subjects on that show.
Right.
So I don't know. I cannot figure out why Sanders had one carry in the first half, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it was one. Yeah.
How the hell does that happen?
Well, to even match the absurdity of that, Sirianni had his press conference the next day, as he usually does. And it's funny, Rob Motti got the second to last question. I got the last question.
Oh, yeah.
Rob took my question and I'm surprised it took that long to really come up. And Rob asked, well, how much of what you're doing is based on who your quarterback is? Like, how much of this, like, strange run pass or everything you're doing offensively because you have this kind of quarterback and maybe you feel like this is the only thing you can do? And Nick opened up with an honest statement. He said, look, we didn't do this stuff last year when he was in Indianapolis, right? And he nor Shane Steichen or Patullo have not been in a system with a quarterback like this before. And he went on to say, Adam, and this is almost like head smacking. Mm-hmm. He said, I think a wise man avoids all extremes. And I'm like, but you're not avoiding extremes. You are literally extreme to the pass RPO
I don't
college
understand.
style offense and not allowing Jalen Hurts to even try to be somewhat of a conventional quarterback. So in your quest to avoid extremes, you become an extremist. It came from his own mouth.
It's funny because you started our show today saying that people need to calm down. Well, when you talk, and everything you said is 100% true, but this is what drives me crazy. And I imagine our listeners and viewers, because we're on YouTube and obviously we have pod.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't imagine this is what Nick Sirianni thought he needed to do. Now, some people have asked us, and we're not privy to the conversations, but to me, I would feel just knowing the way that whether it's Andy Reid or Doug Peterson or this guy, Nick Sirianni, the new guy, there's obviously pressure to throw the football because of the owner. Everybody should know if they haven't. We talked about it months ago when the outstanding article from The Athletic came out from our friends Shook Batty and Bo Wolf and Zach Berman. Just a phenomenal read if you haven't read it. And it just gives you the intel, which you and I have known privately for years, but not to the detail. Some of the stuff like we weren't sure about, and they put it out there, which is kudos to them. Mm-hmm. And there's such pressure to throw the football. And I just hope Jeffrey Lurie would tell him, listen, man, you should do this. Don't feel that you need to come out throwing like this because and the other problem is it's one thing if there's a great structure, but you're just throwing it way too much and because your quarterback's struggling. You had asked me before, like 20 minutes ago or whatever, half an hour ago, about the structure. The structure is so bad. Though there's some inbreakers in there, which Hurts missed, and we'll get into that. What he's missing, it's interesting, but I just feel like he must feel the pressure here because this is just the point of absurdity where you were talking about extreme.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
I think where I'm on the other side of that is that it's not like they're coming out throwing the ball deep and trying to be Kansas City they are coming out with a nickel and dime offense.
Exactly.
Nobody,
nothing even creative.
Even if your owner loves passing and thinks like which Jeffrey Lurie does, you want to have a dynamic, prolific offense. That is not an offense that even if the passes are working, are going to give you that dynamic offense for the most part. You're not like taking all these great shots. Yeah, he's taking a shot here or there, but it's not something that I think in design looks so awesomely prolific, right? To me, it's designed to get the quarterback comfortable and take advantage, in theory, of what they think the quarterback does best. And again, he is calling runs. Some of them are RPOs, but you can take the RPO out of your offense if you think that it's hurting your offense, which I don't know that they want to do because they feel like the RPO is what he thrived at in Oklahoma, right? So that they're adjusting to him more than he has been asked to adjust to them. Because again, Nick Sirianni came from a place that ran a more of a pure West Coast offense and ran the ball a lot more than most teams do. So I don't think he woke up one day as Eagles coach and was like, I don't like running, or I forgot how to run the ball. I think this is all just a blueprint, and it's been backfiring him based on the opponent that he's been playing. Because we saw against Atlanta, that offense looked kind of pretty well oiled.
Yeah.
And even against Kansas City, they started to get into a rhythm. I mean, it worked at times, but it's not a recipe for success long term. You and I know that. Things have to change. We'll see if they do.
The structure's got to change. It's just ridiculous. Miles Sanders is a dynamic running back, just not utilized correctly. The strangest thing, though, before we get into the Hurts tape study, from what we're told, I was laughing. It was just so comical. Sanders all of a sudden starts running the ball in the fourth quarter. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? What is that? People are going out of their mind on Twitter. It's really funny. I get it. I'm like an innocent bystander on Twitter. I just kind of watch the social media stuff. I kind of live for it because it makes me it does give me a chuckle because a lot of it's predictable because the fans, they want to run the football, they want defense and all that, whatever the case may be. A lot of it's very, very factual. A lot of it's correct, but it's predictable because the fans are so frustrated. And we share your pain, man. We hate bad football, and this is just bad football. Yeah. And it's really hard to keep watching this, but hopefully it'll change.
The one thing that we haven't talked about that this lack of structure kind of breeds, and I know you've heard it from some people you talk to, same here, is that even when they're moving the chains, like when they're having some throws of success, they are one of the least physical teams you will ever see because they don't ever pound the ball. They don't wear down opponents. And even if your RPOs are working, you're not really wearing down a defensive line because your offensive line does that 1 second's worth of blocking, and then they got to go into a different mode, right? Because then the ball may have been thrown.
The angle's different.
Yeah, you're not like mauling the guy in front of you when you're running an RPO. When you run the ball, you're mauling the guy, and they are mauling nobody. Even when they're moving the chains, they are not physically asserting themselves. And you get labeled as a soft team, a team that can be pushed around, a team that, you can outflank because you're just meaner, tougher, and nastier than them. Like the Buccaneers did that with Shaq Barrett. I mean, they were all up on that short game. They were up on the read option, and they embarrassed the Eagles, right? So at some point, you got to answer that with your own physicality, and there has been zero physical. I wouldn't even call their season opening win against Atlanta an overly physical win. They just were a finesse team that happened to connect and dominate. So that's noticeable. People have noticed that about the Eagles.
Yeah, no question. That's in my notes. Absolutely no physical play to this football team. Zero on offense. I mean, it's
still football, right? I mean,
it's college. I mean, it's a college offense. I mean, it's been since week one. Every team we've talked to says the same thing. Philly runs a college offense. One guy said it looks like the Pac-12. I was like, oh man, because I know what that meant. And it's not a compliment.
No,
saying it's soft. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's I don't think it's going to change. I don't know what Nick Sirianni has planned out of this little mini bye. Today's Monday. We'll see what they have planned against the Raiders. But something's got to change. Now let's get to Jalen Hurts, right? Yeah. Jalen Hurts. He's got an ongoing issue with his unwillingness to understand or pull the trigger on. Understand these throws that he's making. He's not getting the same space he would get in college football, where it's a cavern. You got 5 to 7 yards of empty space to pass target. Like Eagles will run a curl route, right? The receiver or the tight end, typically the receiver, he'll go like this. If you're watching me on Twitter, on here, the guy's got leverage with his shoulder. Throw the football. You got to throw it.
Yep.
He drops his eyes and he does not throw the football. This is a problem. It's really getting worse.
Right. Ball placement is also what you're.
And also accuracy. He had some really bad throws in this past game.
Yeah.
He's competitive. I know he cares. He's a leader. That's the good stuff. The bad stuff is actually throwing the football right now. He's not throwing it well. Mm-hmm. How in the hell you can have 115 yards against that secondary is beyond me. They're playing with 3 backups. Sherman gets hurt in the first quarter, doesn't return.
Right.
You're right. Goddard absolutely would have helped them. Theoretically would have, as you said earlier. Who knows if they would have thrown it to him? But in theory, he would have really helped them along with Ertz in his farewell game.
Right.
They have no intermediate passing game whatsoever. In the inbreakers, the receivers aren't getting it. Now, some of them, we're told the guys clearly not open. There might have been 5 players in the route, and Hurts had to hold on to the football. That was not his fault. No, there should have been an outlet. In the West Coast offense, there's always an outlet, as Marty Morningweg told me many years ago. When I don't know if you were there then, when they let us one year, Chalk Talk, right? It was they let the reporters in. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yep.
They explained to us the Walsh offense and how there's always an outlet in the West Coast offense. He goes, don't listen to anyone. They don't want to talk about. There's an outlet on every play. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
There should have been an outlet. I have to ask, but Hurts is struggling. He's just he's not processing well enough. It's an ongoing issue. Get rid of the football now. The coaches have to help him get rid of it quicker. Just like at the Atlanta game. Yep. Since the Panthers game was bad, this game was bad. He's just not playing well.
Right.
The
coaches are trying to help him. They're just trying too hard to help him. I mean, there's some things that he's going to have to do.
Yeah. They have to. I know this won't go over with the analytics people, but they got to run the ball in the first half just to get it out of his hands. But I would love to. And 2 things. We asked Jason Avant, Brian Baldiger 2 questions. Can you run? Do you have to run RPOs all the time? Can you have the quarterback under center? They both said absolutely. You could do both.
Right.
Baldy's like, why? He's like, I forget exactly what he said, but he had confirmed what I had thought. You absolutely can do that. There's no this idea. Oh well, he's only comfortable. How the hell do you know that? I understand. I get it. People are saying he was so comfortable playing out of shotgun. I understand that, but this is the pros. You can't try doing both. Like there's some
How do
rule.
we know?
It's the Ten Commandments. You cannot put a RPO quarterback from college in under center. Like you can't do it. He's not allowed to. Like since when?
And that's where I go back to wondering if they do this in practice and he's terrible at it, which is not. I mean, just all you can do is turn around and hand the ball off. I mean, forget the passing element of it. Just hand the ball off. And even if it's a play action, usually when you go under center and you're running play action, right, with a quarterback like Jalen, you're going to fake the handoff and either roll right or roll left. And then when you're doing that, you're usually running a crosser to the side that he's rolling to. So even if he theoretically doesn't like under center because he doesn't get a clear read of the field ahead of him, the read is already there. You're rolling to your right, and they're running a crosser along the line of scrimmage, and there'll probably be somebody running a go on that side too. And it's going to be one or the other. Like, a play action is supposed to look like a run, so it's not going to be a 4-man route.
Sure.
So you either have the ability to hit the two-man route, or you throw the ball out of bounds, or you run a little bit and get some yards. So I'm in agreement with you on that. So I can, even if he's doing bad at it in practice, if you can't be a good coach if you can't get a guy to run a simple play action out of a under center formation. But again, my conventional wisdom tells me that there's just something there where it's not like Nick Sirianni is just like, no, we can't do this. There's got to be a reason.
I don't know.
But I don't know. I want to say though that the deep throws that are underthrown are an example to me. That's not Nick Sirianni's fault.
No, it's a pass mechanics.
Offensive playing call. Well, that's Jalen. Look, we've said this before. He does not have the strongest of arms, and people keep getting this wrong. Just because Jalen can throw the ball 50 to 60 yards does not mean he has a strong arm. It's how fast you get it from where you're throwing downfield, right? And you can see, and I talked to somebody about this who watched the tape of Jalen Hurts. You can see that specifically on the right. It's the second one to Rager, I think, that drew the PIs on the right sideline.
That was short. Yeah, that was really short.
But it's short because he drops his arms. Remember we talked about the wind-up effect that they work with him? He's not a wrist flicker like Michael Vick or Joe Flacco or Lamar Jackson. Not a lot of people are, right? Neither is Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson will throw that ball immediately before Jalen Rager, or his receiver, I should say, has that second step on him because he knows and trusts the receiver to have that step. If Jalen Hurts was making those exact same throws about a half a second to a second earlier, and then because he also didn't drop his arms, he had his arms up and ready to go, he's probably connecting on those passes. But he drops his arms and then he waits just a little too long. And that's the difference between hitting a receiver in stride and either incomplete and now penalties are good too, but you really want to be able to hit these guys in stride.
Yeah, he doesn't play with a sense of timing enough. Whereas in Atlanta game, they just got out of his hands quickly to help him out, to get off to a good start. And it worked. He was really good. He just did what they asked him to do very, very well. Now that they're trying to stretch the pass game, he needs to understand, and here's something that he has to do a better job of. You gotta climb the pocket. When you don't climb the pocket, it makes you smaller than you are. He's 6'1", it makes him like 5'10".
Mm-hmm.
He has either trouble seeing or he doesn't understand that he could step up to avoid the rush. Like Brady, if you watch the coaching tape, he does some things where he got pressured. So calm. His downfield foot, he's so calm. I get he's 6'5", but he's so calm and he moves. You don't have to be a great athlete to do this. He moves a little right, moves a little left. Another thing, Hurts still is throwing the ball too much to his right. Mm-hmm. It's his little habit. I understand that some of these are designed right, but he just got to hang in the pocket more. Don't keep moving. He has the habit of moving. Cosell pointed out on our two pregame shows ago where he was dropping his eyes. It's still a problem.
Right.
Hurts is an ongoing process as an NFL quarterback. We understand that this is what. So this is six starts now. What, he had 4 last year? 3 or 4? 4?
Yeah, 4. So he's about 10 starts in.
Yeah. So we've seen some good, some not so good, some stuff he needs to clean up. But I do believe the coaches still have to help him. It's not, by the way, it's not like, okay, they have to run 50-50 in the first half. That's not what I mean. Mm-hmm. But Miles Sanders could not come out of the half. And I understand it was 21-7. Then it became 28-7. But the game was not so out of hand that you couldn't have run the ball to help him out early, particularly early on. Mix some runs. It could be 60-40, 63-37, but you got to mix the run in. Throw, mix the run in. Mm-hmm. He's not doing that, and it's not helping, particularly because Hurts is not playing well. Help him out.
I agree. There are some things that he's doing that you can help him out with. There are some things he's doing, I think, that I'm sure they're working on, and it's just not getting through. And so that's what makes the next 11 games a continued evaluation of him. But I think people, when someone says, I don't think he's the guy, then you'll have a crowd of people ripping him, saying, come on, you got to give him a chance. You got to give him a chance.
Yeah.
Sure. 10 starts. I mean, some of the stuff he's not doing now, we were talking about season opener week 2, right? Especially with the throws down the field, under throws and things like that. And I think it's fair to point out, if you look at most of the really good quarterbacks in this league, you had a pretty good feeling what direction they were headed in after 10 games. There's always a surprise. There's always somebody like, for example, Dak Prescott. Do you remember when he took over and out of nowhere?
It's all immediately, though.
He won 10 of his first 11 games. He had passer ratings over 100 in 8 of his first 11 games. You could see that you didn't know after year 1.
He's elite, by the way.
Awesome or not, but you saw the trajectory was good. I mean, like Justin Herbert, like you're seeing now, they lose some games, but he looks pretty damn good after the first, 21 games of his career. So at some point, 10 becomes 12, 12 becomes 14. And there's always going to be this kind of, I think, this faction of people who say, you got to give him more time. You got to give him more time. Like, listen, you kind of know, right? Baker Mayfield, I think we're starting to really realize now that he can win you some games, but he's also probably got a ceiling. I don't know that he's going to be.
I don't know. I mean, he's actually improved greatly. I mean, this past Sunday, he got the crap knocked out of him. But no, but getting back to Hurts.
Uneven. Don't you think Baker's a little bit uneven? Like he'll
not really. I mean, he's
uneven, but okay. That's fine.
But here's where I'm at with Hurts. You and I talked in the spring. You and I debated this. You and I had a pretty heavy debate on how are they going to know. Mm-hmm. I said, we'll all know. The tape tells you. You don't need to guess. The tape always tells you.
Right.
And the TV tape, which is also not a great way to evaluate a quarterback, there's certain things you could say. There's absolutely certain things you could say.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not playing well. And you make a fair point. Over these, assuming they don't pull him for the end of the season, there may be a point if he's really, really struggling, they got to get him out of there. But no, this is only 2 games in a row which have been really bad. Yeah, but if he rights himself, he should finish the season. There's absolutely no reason, unless they feel like, okay, the wild card's up for grabs. He's not playing well. They want to put Flacco in to try to save the season. Okay, you want to do that? Fine. But I'd rather just see him compete. I'd just rather see him if they could get him righted.
I totally agree with you. I mean, he's had a couple, he was bad against Dallas. He was bad against Tampa Bay, but at least in the Tampa Bay game, he fought there. He came back a little bit in the fourth quarter. He had a rough start against Carolina. He comes back. So, I mean, he would have to be like, maybe if they lose 3 or 4 in a row, he's just terrible. But I would like to see them see it out with him. He deserves that. I mean, only because there's no one there to put in to say, is this guy? I mean, I know some people will bring up Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
We all know. Let's be all real. Like, if Jalen Hurts does not work out, they're going to get a quarterback next year. It's not going to be Gardner Minshew.
Of course.
Yeah,
there's no chance.
There's no real reason to go.
No, Gardner Minshew is a great story. Okay, guys, he's a gamer. He's tough. He's athletic. He's smart. Highest Wonderlic score from his class of 19 quarterback. He's a gamer. He had 6 AFC Rookie of the Week awards in 2019. Great story. It really was. Minshew, Manning, and all that.
Yeah.
Over time, guys get exposed. You kind of know who they are. It's rare for a guy. Look, over time, you kind of know what these guys are. With Hurts, are we getting a profile? Yes, but the die's not cast yet. I still go back to that Arizona game, and I asked Greg Cosell this. At the time, he said he threw with a lot of really good timing in that game. That the loss at Arizona when it started off with the safety, but he fought back and he showed a lot of timing in that game. So at least you see, okay, when they let him or if they let him run a more conventional offense, we don't know if they're going to, but if they do, I want to see that I'd like to see. Use this as an evaluation year. Give him a chance here. Give him a run game and a chance to play in a conventional offense here. Don't gimmick it up so much as they are now.
I 100% agree with you. At some point, yes, you have to give him more of a chance. I agree with you on that. All right. So, last thing on the offense, we already mentioned the wide receivers, correct? We've talked about the lack of a veteran receiver kind of,
Oh,
hurting this
that's a
group a little
problem.
bit, a big physical
Yeah.
veteran. The offensive line has been playing okay. I think Jordan Mailata needs to be at left tackle, but he also needs to be healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that Dillard's been bad, but I don't think Mailata's been, what you expect from him playing right tackle with a bum knee. So hopefully this extended time off, his knee's feeling better and he can go back to left tackle. But then I guess that really hinges on the Lane Johnson situation, which
Yeah.
was not made any clearer by Nick Sirianni the last time he spoke. So I guess we'll know that. I feel like this is kind of a big week, Adam. If he's not out by Wednesday when they start to practice, maybe you start really being concerned about how long he's going to need and what's going on there.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to get into his. I guess the Eagles are calling it a personal matter, but just some of the stuff that's out there. No, he didn't grow a third arm. He
What?
doesn't have five. People are like, I know they're trying to be funny. There's some funny stuff out there on social media. So because people are trying to guess, and we're not going to do that. But for the people saying, "Oh, is he getting suspended?" No, there's no drug suspension, something like that. It's a personal matter,
Right?
and
Right.
it's a private matter. So we wish him well, and that's it. It's just we don't know. I was surprised that Sirianni said he's not totally sure that he'll be back this season. I was surprised by that. It was a very fair question.
Right.
I was like, wow.
He almost said, "I'm just not going to answer that." But by not answering that, it did leave that kind of, well, why can't you at least say he'll be back at some point? That was right.
That's all I was looking for. Right. I mean, I was hoping you'd say that. And,
right.
Wow. I was like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. But
so what do they do? I mean,
Yeah.
All right, let's say Lane's not going to play on Sunday. Let's just hypothetically saying he's not ready to come back yet. But
okay.
Mailata is feeling a lot better.
Yeah.
Do you continue to play Mailata at right tackle, or do you put him back where he belongs at left tackle, play Driscoll at right tackle, and then go at Dickerson and Herbig as your guards, and Dillard goes back to the bench, or do you continue to play Dillard at left tackle and
It's the best
Mailata
five.
right?
It's by far the best five.
So that's
obviously
than what they've done the last two games,
to me, because Dickerson's getting better. Look, we'll get the defense in a couple minutes. He certainly had some challenges whenever Vita Vea was lined up, over him, or when Vita Vea was over Kelsey. Certainly had some challenges. He is a man; he's so strong. But Dillard has shown us at least in pass protection. He certainly could handle himself. We still don't know about the run, although they did run the ball well late. I'd have to see if the Bucs were in dime or not. I didn't ask, but because they had a lead. But we still don't know Dillard as a run blocker because they just don't run. It's so strange.
That's a good point. They do not run, so how would we be able to evaluate that? All right, but I in general, I think the line can get better from a pass protection standpoint.
Yes.
But it's not the biggest concern on the Eagles right now.
No.
It's certainly not compared to head coach and quarterback and things like that, wide receiver play. All right, let's go do the defensive film review. First, I want to turn all of your attentions to our buddies at PHLSportsNation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of Philadelphia sports teams. They're for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. So if you enjoy reading the fans' perspective, go check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. We'll pause real quick for another word from our other great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right, if you do head into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get a great deal. Not a good deal, a great deal.
I agree with that.
All right, let's talk about the Eagles defense, which started off not so great. Obviously, Tom picked them apart in the first quarter, second quarter, but it got better.
Well, the first two drives. The first two drives
really, the first two drives, right.
Were not competitive. It was pitch catch, pitch catch, pitch catch. It was embarrassing. I was like, wow. I mean, it was Brady just being Brady, the best of all time. But I'm like, I'm like thinking, well, they're going to give up 40 to 50 points tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third and fourth series, they forced punts. If you notice, they started bringing pressure. And they tried some disguise. It didn't really work very much. A little bit. In fact, one, Brady threw the ball a little bit faster than he wanted to. They sped him up a little bit, but I don't know what Gannon was thinking the first two series. It was surprising to me.
It was like he was so afraid of getting beat that he wanted
100%.
to play it. It's like he really thought that the front four was just going to come out there and dominate this great, really good Bucs offensive line, and Brady was going to get hit. I don't know why he thought that.
I just, for the life of me, I have no idea because it was bad. I give him credit though, because the next 5 series, he did a really good job. I mean, he other than the touchdown, the 5th series, he did it. They got some punts. They did a good job. I thought Gannon adjusted well. But the real problem, and I'd have to check this, the run after contact for Fournette was embarrassing. Their tackling was so piss poor. I hate to use that term, but it was awful.
Right. You're right.
Absolutely awful.
And they made a major change too. Eric Wilson was not in there a whole lot. And who was it? It was Davion Taylor and it was Alex Singleton, and they played some TJ Edwards. So that's supposed to be, when Edwards is in there, they're supposed to be a little bit more stout. But we always say this. I mean, Edwards is a good story, but he's still not a tenacious Devin White type of linebacker, right? He's just a good downhill linebacker.
Yeah, and White's a superstar in the making. They need physicality in the worst way. They need guys. Look, you don't want to draft a guy in the first round, fine. Second round, fine. Logan Wilson, a guy early in the 3rd round, fine. Do something like that. But they need size. This has got to stop. This is ridiculous. Leonard Fournette's not even remotely close to the same player he once was. He gets on his front of his toes. He tiptoes. It's kind of a weird way. He changed his running style completely from college and LSU.
Yeah.
But he still played very well. He definitely played very well, no question. But it was absurd how much he pushed the pile and the angles, and you saw Davion Taylor play more. It was a nightmare trying to tackle him. It was if he was more explosive, he might have had 200 yards. He's not. He's just big. He's a big dude, and he's physical, and you can't do that. You can't do that against his team. They got housed. He took them. I mean, he there were a couple he took him for a ride, man. I was like, oh, this is not good.
And this is sort of my concern for the team going forward as they're starting to figure some things out defensively, playing a little, Gannon, you see comfortable blitzing a little bit more or doing some disguise on the back end. But at the end of the day, every team has a pretty decent running back. And, guys like Chuba Hubbard and, as you just mentioned, Leonard Fournette, who are just okay, are starting to look really good. And, you got Josh Jacobs coming up next week. You got the tandem of DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. And, you can look at these guys any week and say, they're good, not great. But, against the Eagles, they're going to move the chains.
Yeah, I mean, look, part of the 4 yards per carry for Fournette or short yardage, so obviously it's going to take his yardage per carry to actually 3.7 technically. But, folks, there are plenty of them where he ran over them.
Yes.
Short yardage always takes the number down. But he had 2 touchdowns. He caught the ball well. He's physical. O.J. Howard killed him in the intermediate area. The tackling on the big play was bad.
Mm-hmm. They're not a good tackling team. They're just they're in the secondary. They can be decent tackling team, but in that front 7, they just miss too much or they get bowled over.
And AB crushed him in the intermediate area. He was by the way, going in, he was my player of the game. I would have to Brady, I guess. He was you got to give him the runner-up at least to Brady, man. AB was amazing in that game.
You know what? For the catch that he made, and that was a great coverage, and Brady and Brown just beat it, to ice the game there. That was an unbelievable catch. It was a good throw, but that throw could have been deflected. For AB to get his hands out there and bring that thing in was really was amazing. So I would have no problem saying he was the player of the game. 93 yards and a touchdown, and obviously the catch there to seal it. So, the defense got better as the game went on. Yeah, they forced some punts. They did have, I believe, an interception.
They hung in there. Yeah, they hung in. Yeah. Should have 2 picks, right?
The game really changed, though, when they called back the Epps interception because they had a shot there to get half of a field. And right now it looks like the Eagles are really only going to score when they get kind of either the half the field or it's the 4th quarter and, either they get a penalty or the defense starts to play soft on them. But that was a big change of momentum. Not getting that interception, and then they punted.
Yep.
Yeah.
What else?
Linebackers, D line, Brady good. Other than that, the secondary was okay. I thought, right? I mean,
too much room though. It was really weird. Like this game, they moved the court. Like the first two series they played as you were. Basically Gannon was playing not to give it the big play, which has been a problem for him. It was almost like he's so scared of them doing something big. Well, it was pitch and catch the first two series, then he adjusted. There were some times in the second and third quarter where he moved the corners up in somewhat of a press position. Then other places he'd back off.
Right.
I would say this. At least he started to change things up. He's learning he cannot coach not to lose kind of the way that he's done it at times. It's got to change, but I give him credit. I give the team credit. They're an undermanned team, and they hung in there. They made the game closer than it really was. How about those people who bet the Bucs -6.5 and got and when Gannon analytically was correct for going for the 2 points, but it's just not Gannon, Sirianni. But it's just funny because he hasn't always done that this season. It was just funny to see him do it at the time he did it. But okay, fine.
Right.
People are like, okay, now it's a 5-point game. So many people lost that bet. They had the right team. The Buccaneers had the thing. They're up 28-7. I mean, Bruce Arians was asked this, by the way. He was asked. He didn't agree. He didn't think they were. He said Philly played a lot of four deep, played cover 2, cover 4. They were still trying to take away the deep ball, and they just took what the defense gave them. Mm-hmm. I guess you could say that, but man, they were. I mean, the Eagles did a good job. They only scored 7 in the second half, which is surprising to me.
Well, every time I credit the Eagles for fighting and making it sort of a game there in the fourth quarter and thinking the game might have been a little bit closer than I thought. I go look at the box score and I see the Bucs had 400 yards and the Eagles had 200 yards. I'm like, this game wasn't close. This game wasn't competitive.
I know. They made it closer. It's true. Cosmetically, they made it closer than it really was. But
the time of possession was 40 minutes to 20 minutes.
I know. That was another problem. Oh, well, here's the problem. There was so many 4, 5, and 6 and out. It was just there were just too many. There were too many times like that, and then obviously the 2 long drives to start the game. The 2 10, it was 10-9 plays, and when I say longer, is actually I shouldn't say that. It was actually pitch catch touchdown, pitch catch touchdown.
Right.
Look. They're new. They're new play callers. They've earned their record 2-4. I still think that coaches have to do a better job of helping their players. Mm-hmm. Players obviously have their responsibility too. Yep. But I do think using that old Andy Reid phrase, the coaches, the Andy need to do a better job. He would say, help him out. I think clearly the 2 play callers need to.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. Oh, we did. Yeah, we really should have. Keep harping on how this staff is so young and raw and does not have that guy in their ear. Whether it's Gannon or Sirianni, that former head coach.
Oh yeah. The senior defensive assistant. Oh, and look, the other thing is snap to pass. Brady beat the rush because you knew that was coming. He has the quickest release in the NFL. He just quit. Until they started to try to make sure they pressed the receivers, he got it out so quickly in the first 2 drives. I mean, Gannon was not going to play press. He was just not going to. He was going to give up yards. It's just not a deep ball. And okay, Godwin had 3 catches early. Then he didn't have any after that. And Mike Evans was very quiet in the game. But
yeah,
AB and OJ Howard, particularly AB, got them, man. He got them on in breakers, man.
Oof. I can be okay losing to AB, but OJ Howard, man, jeez.
I know it's funny. It's like a couple years. Bruce Arians called him out before not being ready when the ball came to him. He kind of benched him, and he also had the Achilles a couple years ago. But now he's being a factor. He's a factor because Gronk's out. And, oh well, hopefully they'll learn with this time off.
Definitely. All right, next podcast we'll start to cover some of the. Anything else that happens over the next 48 hours, we'll get into the NFC East and the NFL a little bit, and maybe your power rankings will be out by then, right? When do the next power?
Oh, yeah, tomorrow. Oh, yeah. In fact, I'm pretty much kind of know where I'm going, but I have to wait technically to see what happens in the Buffalo Tennessee game. Yeah, tonight. So we have to see that game. And remember Buffalo, that game last year, Monday, it actually got moved because of COVID.
Oh, I
remember this is when the Titans had the COVID breakouts, and the game got moved, and they really handled Buffalo. That was a surprise, and I'm sure Buffalo's got revenge on their mind for that.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure, especially because Tennessee kind of talked a lot of smack after that game, if I remember correctly.
Did they?
So I think they were bugged by them getting like they had become the poster boy for you must
Oh
not
yeah,
be
yeah.
doing something right.
I know
'Cause of all
privately
your
talking to them, it's funny you mentioned that because they thought they were doing the right thing. They just a couple things happened. They got fined for it, but yeah, I just don't know. I don't remember publicly them saying that, but hey, Buffalo hasn't forgotten though, and their defense is way better than it was last year.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks to our producer, Hunter Brody. You can check out his work on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads. His website is broadsmedia.com. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.